Okay, so Apple just quietly told you something, and most people completely missed it. They're not releasing a standard iPhone 18 this fall. No iPhone 18, no iPhone 18 Plus, nothing. The iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max are coming in September as planned, but if you want the regular model, you're waiting until spring 2027, which means for the first time ever, Apple is forcing a choice: pay for a Pro or wait 6 months. That's not a product launch, that's a hostage situation. And it's the reason the iPhone 18 Pro Max leaks matter more this year than they have in years. Because this isn't just which iPhone should I get, it's do I spend the money now or sit on my hands until spring? So let's go through everything that's leaked. The camera upgrade that DSLRs should actually be nervous about. The battery number that on paper should make charging anxiety extinct. And one upgrade that every other review is glossing over that I think is actually the most important thing about this phone. The iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max are expected to bring significant changes over the 17 Pro lineup: touching design, display, performance, camera, and battery life. I've been tracking every credible leak since the supply chain chatter started heating up, and I'm going to separate the stuff that's basically confirmed from the stuff that's still noise, because right now the internet is treating every Weibo post like it came from Tim Cook himself, and that's not helpful to anyone trying to make a real decision. There are three leaks I genuinely believe, one I'm skeptical about, and one thing nobody is connecting that I think is actually the headline story here. Let's start with the thing that surprised me the most. According to Ming-Chi Kuo, probably the most reliable Apple analyst alive, the main rear camera on the iPhone 18 Pro is getting a variable aperture for the first time in iPhone history. Now, if you're not a photography person, variable aperture sounds like a features list item you'd skip. Let me explain why you absolutely should not. A variable aperture dynamically adjusts its opening diameter to control how much light enters the sensor, enabling more granular control over exposure and depth of field effects. In English, your iPhone camera will physically open and close its lens like an eye adjusting to light, like a real camera, like a camera you'd pay $2,000 for separately. Right now, when you take a photo with your iPhone in bright sunlight, the camera compensates for overexposure in software. It's clever, but it's a workaround. Variable aperture is the hardware solution, meaning less processing, more real optical data hitting the sensor. It would let iPhone users manually adjust how much light gets to the sensor, cutting down on overexposure and providing new customization options for lighting and depth of field. The photographers in the room just sat up straighter because this is the feature they've been asking Apple to add for years. And here's the thing that's interesting to me from a business angle. Samsung has had variable aperture on Galaxy phones before. They actually removed it in 2019 because users didn't engage with it. Apple is betting they can make it accessible enough that people actually use it. That's a very Apple move. And if they pull it off, the gap between iPhone photography and everything else gets wider, not smaller. According to supply chain leaker Digital Chat Station, the iPhone 18 Pro Max will have a battery capacity of 5,100 to 5,200 milliamp hours, and combined with the efficiency of the A20 Pro chip on TSMC's 2 nanometer process, the device could tout extremely impressive battery life. For context, the iPhone 17 Pro Max currently holds the record for the biggest iPhone battery ever at 5,088 milliamp hours, with Apple claiming up to 39 hours of battery life. With a bigger battery and a more efficient chip, the iPhone 18 Pro Max should comfortably offer over 40 hours of battery life. That's almost 2 full days of mixed use, which sounds crazy. But here's the part nobody's connecting properly. The battery number going up from 5,088 to maybe 5,200 milliamp hours. That's a 2% increase. That alone does almost nothing. The real story is the chip. The A20 Pro, built on TSMC's 2 nanometer process, is rumored to deliver 15 to 30% better power efficiency than the A19 Pro. Think about that, a 30% efficiency gain on a chip that's already the most efficient in the mobile industry. That's not an incremental improvement. That's the difference between your phone dying at 9 p.m. and your phone still sitting at 40% when you go to bed. And if you're someone who plugs in every night out of habit, not necessity, you might not even notice. But take a day trip, go hiking, go to a music festival, fly internationally. That's when this chip starts to feel like a different category of phone entirely. In 2025 tests, the iPhone 17 Pro Max already topped many battery rankings, despite similar or smaller capacity than Android rivals, proving Apple's efficiency advantage. The 18 Pro Max, if these leaks hold, isn't just defending that title, it's trying to make the conversation irrelevant. The iPhone 18 Pro is expected to debut Apple's C2 modem alongside a shift to a 2 nanometer manufacturing process for the A20 Pro chip. Everyone's going to talk about the chip, the 2 nanometer process, benchmark numbers, blah, blah. And yes, it'll be faster. That part is obvious. What I want to talk about is the C2 modem, because this is actually a bigger deal than it's getting credit for. Apple's C2 modem could add support for 5G satellite connectivity, the NR-NTN standard, which relates to direct phone-to-satellite links as well as using satellites as backhaul for carrier networks to extend coverage in remote areas. This could allow the iPhone 18 Pro models to offer full internet access over satellite, supplementing 5G networks when standard networks are unavailable. And here's the part that just happened that most iPhone 18 articles aren't including yet. As of April 2026, Apple is teaming up with Amazon to provide this service. Amazon has acquired Globalstar, which was the previous provider of iPhone satellite connectivity. So iPhones are now moving under Amazon's LEO satellite internet network. That's a complete overhaul of how your iPhone connects to the world. Right now, satellite on iPhone is for emergencies only. With the C2 modem and Amazon LEO behind it, you're looking at actual usable satellite internet. Not send an SOS, actual browsing, maps, photos, in places with zero cell signal. If you camp, travel internationally, live rurally, or just hate the dead zone on your commute, this is the feature that quietly changes everything. Okay, design. I'll be fast because honestly, there's not a lot to say here, and that's kind of the point. The iPhone 18 Pro Max is reportedly going to be 8.8 millimeters thick, up from 8.75 on the 17 Pro Max, and is expected to push over 240 grams. The 17 Pro Max weighs 227 grams, so it gets marginally thicker and heavier to accommodate the bigger battery, barely noticeable. The increase this year is actually much smaller than the jump from the 16 to the 17. The dynamic island situation is complicated. Reports earlier claimed Apple would move Face ID sensors fully under the display and shift the front camera to the upper left corner, but multiple reliable leakers corroborated that this was based on a mistranslation and only the infrared sensor moves under the display. So the dynamic island is probably staying just slightly smaller. Don't cancel your upgrade over that. One genuinely new thing, a dark cherry colorway for the Pro models described as a deep wine red shade alongside light blue, dark gray, and silver, no black again, which at this point feels less like a design decision and more like Apple specifically targeting people who would have bought black. The iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max are expected to feature new LTPO plus display technology, which should allow higher refresh rates while using battery power more efficiently. This one's unsexy to talk about, but it matters. LTPO Plus means the display can hit higher peak brightness while actually drawing less power. That's not a contradiction. That's what a 2 nanometer chip paired with a next-gen display panel actually unlocks. Screen sizes are staying consistent at 6.3 and 6.9 inches, but reports suggest a massive jump in brightness from the current 1600 nits HDR and 3000 nits peak. If you've ever been outside in direct sun and done the embarrassing phone squint and cup your hand move, this is the upgrade for you. More nits outdoors without destroying your battery. That's a real quality of life change. So, should you care about the iPhone 18 Pro Max? Here's my take, and I'll be direct. If you're on an iPhone 15 Pro or older, yes, upgrade. The combination of variable aperture camera, 2 nanometer efficiency, satellite internet, and a display that you can actually see outside, that's a generational jump, not an incremental one. If you're on an iPhone 17 Pro Max right now, honestly, the case is thinner. The camera upgrade is real, but if you're already on a recent Pro model, this upgrade might feel incremental, though for users on older iPhones, the improvements could be substantial and immediately noticeable. The battery and chip gains are mostly going to feel like, my phone just works better, rather than a specific wow moment. The one wild card, the C2 modem, and Amazon Leo satellite internet. If that actually works, actually works in the real world and not just in a demo video with perfect conditions, that changes the value proposition entirely. That's the feature I'd watch for when hands-on reviews start dropping in September. The iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max are targeting a September 2026 launch, coming alongside Apple's first foldable iPhone, the Fold, which closes to around 5.5 inches and opens to approximately 7.8 inches, which for the record is the phone that's going to steal all the headlines. Apple knows that. And I think the reason the 18 Pro Max is quietly getting some of its best ever upgrades right now is that Apple needs it to hold the room while everyone gawks at the foldable. The Pro Max is the reliable best friend at the party. The Fold is the person who walked in on a motorcycle wearing a tuxedo. I'm covering the Fold next. That one's going to be a conversation. See you next video. Peace.